Hey, did you know there are only 4 color film manufacturers in the whole world? But aren't there like hundreds of film brands out there? Exactly. Isn't that concerning? And that begs the question, who makes the film that you're shooting right now? Well, it's a good question and one that I'm hopefully going to answer for you right now. The simple answer is that the vast majority of those brands are using someone else's stock and just slapping their names on it. Very long story short, because the 4 color film manufacturers are in 4 very different regions, the made in can tell you pretty much everything you need to know. If it's made in the USA, it's made by Kodak. If it's made in Japan, it's made by Fujifilm. If it's made in Germany/EU, then it's Innoviscote. And if it's made in the UK, it's Harman. Black and white has a couple more, but it's still quite a small list. So why would a company do this? Why would they take an existing stock and slap their own name on it? Well, there's a couple of reasons. And the first of which, in my opinion, is a little bit shady. The company can easily change their emulsion provider. Have you noticed that your favorite black and white stock has, over the years, changed in punchiness or graininess? Well, it could be that the company was originally getting their film from Agfa and then changed to Fomapan or Ilford or Ferragna or ORWO without telling anyone. Just behind the scenes, you never need to know, but somehow your stock has now changed look. Weird. We'll get onto it a bit more in a minute, but I think that transparency in rebranded stocks could be a little bit better overall. So how about some good reasons for rebranding stocks? Well, one is availability of canisters. For example, films like Kodak Vision3 or all the ORWO stocks are only available as few hundred feet in a pancake of film. So if you're not bulk rolling yourself, it's great that another company is doing it for you so you can readily shoot Vision3 in your 35mm canister without having to do the extra work. Cool beans. Second point is quite literally keeping companies alive. Agfa's Belgium plant would have almost definitely shut down if it wasn't for Bellamy of Japanese Camera Hunter, who ordered industrial amounts of their film and basically kept the factory running. And this is what I wanted to talk about a minute ago. For those who aren't just re-rolling a stock, but are actually directly working with the manufacturers, I would like to see a bit more transparency. For example, I'm currently working with Agfa Aviphot to bring back a previously discontinued film stock for you. But that is not always how it's announced. And another weird one is maybe due to import taxes, branding, production costs, or other magical things behind the scenes that I have no idea about. Certain stocks might be cheaper under a different name. For example, Fomapan and Kentmere under different names are sometimes cheaper in different countries. Weird, but good to know. Which is why I want to get onto a list of stocks and what they're also sold as. But first, a quick disclaimer for those who are going to jump in the comments and tell me that I'm wrong. I'm sorry in advance. I've done my very best to grab information from a number of different sources. I will also be simplifying greatly, and unfortunately it's a fast changing world, so this information could be outdated in just a week's time. But if you know something I don't, if you have a correction for me, please let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to pin your comment if it's pertinent to the discussion. So without further ado, let's start with color films and the recently very popular one to re-roll, that is Aerocolor 42460, which is quite hard even to get in bulk. So thanks to these upcoming names, we can shoot it quite readily in our cameras. Santa Color 100, Pofo Luminar 100, Flick Film Electra 100, Film Washi X Silbera 100, possibly Cat Labs Color, and Reflex Lab Pro 100. And I want to give a special shout out to Reflex Lab because they are the most transparent company I've seen of any of the re-rollers. They literally write what the stock is on the shop page and on their Instagram when they're announcing new stocks. If everyone could be more like them, it would be way easier and we wouldn't need these kind of videos. Next up, let's jump to the current big boy of the re-rolling market, that is Kodak's Vision3, available in a number of different speeds, 50D, 250D, 200T and 800T in its unmodified, unwashed state, which should be developed in ECN2 chemicals. This is most famously sold by Rebrands. Although it is getting harder to do, it is possible to buy 400 feet rolls of this yourself and bulk roll it yourself, as long as ECN2 development is available to you. As more and more labs are offering ECN2 development, they are also re-rolling Kodak Vision3, so as well as Rebrands, you can get it from many labs around the world, re-rolled into 35mm canisters, and once again, Reflex Lab, who once again are very transparent about it. Following quite obviously along is washed Vision3. By removing the remjet layer, it is one, possible to develop in C41 chemicals at any lab around the world, and two, introduces opinion-dividing red halation around all the highlights. This is, of course, famously introduced by Cinestill, but is now available from a number of other companies, much to the dismay of Cinestill. So, apart from Cinestill, under what other names can you find washed Vision3? Brainwave 400, Candido 400 and 800, Rito's Amber 100, 200, 400, 800, Sino Still, genius name, 800, and again Reflex Lab 400 and 800. Essentially, if you see a T next to 800 in the name of the film, or a D next to 400, or if you can see some sample images and there's halation around the highlights, it is 100% washed Vision3. And it's available everywhere. These are the main current ones. In the past, it seems that Fujifilm made film for other people, but not so much anymore. Let's move on to black and white. First, Fomapan, a very popular, very crunchy black and white film, which is currently available under the brands Artista Edu, the Lady Grey and Earl Grey from Lomography, Cosmo Photos Agent Shadow, Holga 400, and possibly Classic Easy 400. We'll talk about that more in a second. Fomapan itself is also readily available, so basically choose which one of those is the cheapest close to you. Same goes for Kentmere, which is also available under the names Agfa APX, Roly APX, and Oriental Seagull, some of which I've seen cheaper than Kentmere depending on the country you're in. So again, choose whichever one is cheapest for you, they're all the same. Next up is ORWO, and you can order pancakes yourself directly from them, but if you'd rather not make the effort and you want to buy readily made canisters, here are your options. N74 is available as Lomo's Berlin 400 and also Shanghai 400. UN54 is Lomography's Potsdam 100, Woven 100, and Shanghai 100. Finally, ORWO's DN21 and DP31 are Lomography's low ISO films, ISO 13 and ISO 8. Another bulk loadable classic is Kodak Double-X, which is Kodak's black and white cinema film, but can be developed in regular black and white chemicals, no need for anything fancy. Again, quite famously sold by Cinestill, but also available from many local labs around the world. And if you see titles with XX on the film box, or something like Cinematic Black and White, Kodak Double-X. It's also possible that Ribsy's Easy 400 is in fact Kodak Double-X. No one really knows, it's a secret, but either way, he's using packaging which is 40% less plastic, also fully recyclable canister, and an attractive price. So whatever he is using, hats off to him for what he's doing with it. Last specific one I want to mention is Agfa Aviphot, a black and white surveillance film which is sold under Roly, Zilbera, Adox, and very probably Japanese Camera Hunter, but again, more on that later. Interestingly, while you can't buy it in bulk from Agfa, you can buy Roly ATS in bulk, which is Agfa Aviphot. So thanks Roly for having that option. So those are some examples of re-rolling an existing stock. And in all those cases, once you know which ones are all the same thing, just find the cheapest one available closest to you. Now, there is another category of who made your film, and that is those who work directly with the film manufacturers. For example, Lomography's color negatives are all made by Kodak. Now, they will never admit this, but they're made in the USA. And as we found out earlier, there are only 4 color film manufacturers, and if it's made in the USA, it's made by Kodak. The low ISO stuff could be maybe re-rolled Color Plus or something, but Lomography are offering an 800 speed medium format color negative, which isn't portrait. So they're obviously getting something made special for them by Kodak, and that's pretty cool. Then their funky colored Loma Chrome series are all made directly for them by Innoviscoat in Germany, and it's only their black and white stocks which are just re-rolled existing film stocks. The final category is adapted film. Companies like Kono and Bubble are buying existing cheap stocks like Kodak Gold and absolutely destroying them and adapting them with funky patterns and interesting color shifts before selling them back to you at a massive markup. Yeah, I have some opinions on this. There's a video linked up there. So those are the facts. I'm going to stop there, but I do have a second video which I'm going to start filming right now, which has some more opinions around the situation, as well as some interesting history of film production and other ramblings. If you're interested, that'll be linked absolutely everywhere, including straight after this video. I hope this one was interesting to you. I hope you learned something, and I hope it'll inform your buying process in the future. Like I said earlier, if you have any information that is pertinent to this conversation, please give me a comment. I'll happily pin it. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.